everybody, and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who video where today I want to discuss the topic of canon. I feel like it's one of those things that you either love or you hate to talk about, and so if you hate it, fair enough, just click off now, don't hit the dislike button, just don't bother, it's fine. But I feel like after last weekend's big revelations and stuff, and kind of combined with, I feel like 5 years of big revelations and just stuff happening, it kind of poses the question of, like, is canon just completely broken, like irreparably from Doctor Who now? Like, is it all just screwed? Is there no hope anymore? That's what I'm going to try and answer. So firstly, I just wanted to quickly say a big thank you for all the views and the subscribers off the back of my review of the Giggle last weekend. It was so great to see such a great response to that. Really interesting to read all your thoughts and your comments as well. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining. Hopefully I'm going to be bringing lots more Doctor Who content and great discussion as well. But yeah, so the topic of canon in Doctor Who. I mean, as I say, for some people it's a really boring topic. I find it quite interesting. I kind of like to map out like the history of sort of the in-universe history of the show and different characters and the Doctor and all of it. I really enjoy trying to work that out and trying to piece that together. And it feels like we've been thrown curveball after curveball to kind of stop us from being able to really ever figure it out. And, you know, inevitably there are things that don't match up, kind of no matter what. But I just feel like last weekend took it to another level. Not even necessarily what we saw in the episode, but just the whole concept that RTD has shared, that the Doctors have all bi-generated at the same time. And so we've got continuing versions of every single Doctor ever. Presumably, does that mean like the Ruth Doctor as well? And all the pre-Hartnell Doctors? Like, is that all a thing as well? Like, just all of that. And how does that actually marry up with what we have seen happen in television episodes of Doctor Who and expanded media episodes of Doctor Who as well? Like, the whole thing, it just feels like, has this just taken it a step too far and like broken everything? I just don't really know how we reconcile any of it anymore. Now, the question of canon is a funny one, and I think it's kind of funny to look back even like to the very first episode of the show, which immediately has things that are basically not canon in it now. Like, for example, Susan claims that she made up the name TARDIS from the initials, and the explanation for what TARDIS is was just made up by her. That's clearly nonsense. Like, that clearly doesn't fit with anything else in the whole show. It's completely stupid and doesn't make any sense. So you can say there's something in episode 1 from 60 years ago that is not canon, essentially. I know there's the whole timeless child idea and the whole pre-Hartnell stuff that means that Hartnell isn't the first Doctor anymore, or is he? And all of that, that's a whole other sort of mind-blowing bit of canon. I kind of felt like sort of Chibnall, when he wrote that, as much as you may hate it, you may love it, you may, well, I don't think anybody's in the middle. It's very Marmite, that whole concept. I'm more towards the like it side, guys, so sorry about that. But I feel like Chibnall really thought about kind of how it fitted into the canon when he wrote it. And in the most part, it kind of fits, it can slot into what we know exists currently. Like, it can fit there and kind of make sense, because it still ultimately brings us to the point where William Hartnell becomes the first Doctor of the sort of cycle before the Doctor's, after the Doctor's been mind wiped by the division and all of that side of things. That all makes sense. That all still adds up. That's all still kind of understandable. Whether you hate it, that's fine, but I think it still kind of fits. Whereas I feel like with this, Russell's kind of just gone, all the Doctors are just going to continue on forever. They're going to regenerate into other Doctors. It's all going to be complete chaos. Anything is canon. Nothing is canon. The Doctor can be half human if you want him to be. The Doctor can be Doctor can be the timeless child if you want him to be. They can not be the timeless child if you want them. Like, all of it. It feels like it's almost taken a step too far. This whole concept of the Doctorverse, where all the Doctors exist kind of always and forever at the same time. They're always all out there just doing their thing, whether it's as the current incarnation or not. And in some ways you could argue, yes, that's kind of always been true, because even within their incarnations, they still exist in time and space. And it was always possible that they could turn up at the same place at the same time, and there'd be some timey-wimey waffle as to why that's allowed. And that's how we've seen multi-Doctor specials in the past. So in some ways it doesn't change it, because you've still got them all out there, just they all continue on never-endingly, seems to be Russell's theory, which I don't like personally. I think that it makes much more sense for the bi-generation to have just happened for 14, and that 14 will live out his life for a while until he kind of reaches that point where he's, dealt with everything he needs to deal with, and then he won't regenerate to someone new, but he'll kind of regenerate into nothingness and kind of and time travel somehow back into the point where we see Ncuti become the 15th Doctor, because we know from the dialogue of the episode that 15 is further down the line from 14 and has got the experiences of having dealt with all the stuff that 14 went through. So that's my headcanon, and I don't really care what Russell says, but also Russell is just trying to break all of the canon of the show, and it just feels a little bit unnecessary. Now, as I say, there is so much in the show that has kind of been overwritten, or just one writer has decided, well, that doesn't really matter. 13 regeneration limits were kind of held onto until we thought, nah, that doesn't matter anymore. The half-human Doctor, that was just completely tossed away. And there's many, many different examples of that throughout the show. So probably you could arguably say that canon doesn't really exist in Doctor Who, almost like it doesn't really matter, that it is physically impossible to reconcile everything that has happened, even just on TV, to reconcile everything that has happened in a way that really makes any sense. Like, even all the stuff from the unit days, all unit dating and all of that stuff, that makes absolutely no sense. It's not logical at all. There isn't really any way you can make that actually practically work. So it's just all these things like that where maybe the thing here is that Doctor Who canon has always kind of been screwed, and it just doesn't really matter. Doctor Who canon is just a nonsense, and we should just enjoy the episodes that we get. And I do kind of lean towards that as an idea, but I do feel like we've kind of been bashed over the head with canon for the last few years. Like, apart from Series 11, that was very standalone and was way too far in the extent of, we're doing everything new and nothing in the show in the past matters, we're barely even going to reference it, whatever. Apart from that, I feel like for so many seasons now, we've had so much heavy kind of self-referencing, kind of bringing back to like Series 9 with Davros and the Genesis of the Daleks connections and all of that, through Series 10 with the Mondasian Cybermen, Series 12 doing the whole Timeless Child idea, Series 13, the Flux kind of affected the canon in some way and linked into the Division and all of that stuff from the Doctor's past. And then we've seen the 6th anniversary specials, the bi-generation that changes everything as well. It just feels like we've kept on kind of digging holes into canon and into the past and being self-referential and all of it. And I feel like what we really just need, and I think is what we're going to get, is that fresh start with Ncuti's era, where it's time to stop focusing on the past now. It's time to stop looking back and changing things and digging it all up and all of that. And actually, let's just move into a new era where the Doctor who's dealt with all that stuff from the past and can just focus on telling great new stories in the future. I think that's what it needs, because canon is just basically broken, and I don't think there's any point in trying to fix it anymore. As annoying as it is for me, because I like these sorts of things to all fit together and it all to make sense, and that's why it's a bit frustrating. But I feel like there's just no way of doing it anymore, and we kind of just have to kind of accept what the situation is and just focus on the future, I think. So guys, let me know in the comments below, is there any way we can fix this pretty much irreparably broken canon lore of Doctor Who? Like, is it all just a complete mess? Does it not matter? Are you frustrated? Are you not? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments below. But that, guys, is just about it from this video. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new here. I'll be doing lots more Doctor Who content in the run up to Christmas and beyond for season 1, I think we're calling it. But for now, from me, it is goodbye.